National Lord. My branch is the Zerg. Introduction. www.zhaozhuiyuan.com. The era of lords has arrived, with 8 billion people from around the world coming to the continent of the 10,000 clans to become lords and compete with them. Each lord will randomly obtain the initial unit and initial territory. Xiao Tian obtained the Zerg army. Faced with this chaotic world, Xiao Tian bravely raised his butcher's knife and led the Zerg legion to conquer countless realms, using blood to dispel darkness and iron fists to strike. https://www.zhaozhuiyuan.com. Chapter 1. Zerg Clan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Zerg. Welcome to the continent of 10,000 ethnic groups. Each person will receive a territory and randomly receive an initial branch building. In this vast world of countless ethnic groups, it is full of countless opportunities and challenges, randomly initiating troops. From now on, you will receive a 7-day beginner protection period. During the protection period, your territory is in an invincible state, and no creatures can enter your territory unless they have your permission. After 7 days, the protective cover will disappear, and you will face your first life and death test. The fierce beast tide will sweep across all the territories of the continent. If the heart of the territory is destroyed, you will also die with it. Listening to the sound in his mind, Xiao Tian opened his eyes and looked around in confusion. I was just in a lottery when a golden light appeared in front of me. Why did it disappear and then appear here? Looking around, there was a dilapidated house in front of Lu Yushi, who had to rewrite an inscription on a shabby house. Beside it was a strangely shaped building. This strange hemispherical building is about 1 meter in size, and its outer layer appears to be covered with the shell of insect-like organisms. Xiao Tian carefully looked at the building when suddenly a light curtain appeared in front of him, displaying information about this strange building. Special building. Insect nest, initial level. First level, can breed 100 larvae per day, upgrade required. 100 units of first.order raw stones and 1 unit of first.order exotic stones. Note. The higher the level of the insect nest, the higher the probability of breeding special larvae. Xiao Tian took a deep breath and finally accepted the fact that he had traveled through time. So next Xiao Tian opened his eyes with excitement on his face. How can an ordinary life be compared to such a thrilling and exciting one, let alone losing loved ones in the original world, carefree and relaxed? Does it breed larvae? Yes, no. Looking at the options that appeared in front of him, Xiao Tian didn't hesitate and shouted, yes. As Xiao Tian's words fell, the insect nest in front of him also changed. The originally closed insect nest split into 4 petals from the middle, and then opened up like a flower towards the surroundings. Inside the nest, larvae emerged one by one. Obtained branch. 100 units of collectors, larvae. Looking at these black larvae in front of him, which were only the size of a fist, had a shape similar to a beetle, but had no horns. The 3 pairs of limbs on his body did not look sharp, and the chewy mouthpiece reminded Xiao Tian of a sentence. Failed to penetrate enemy armor. Branch. Collectors, larvae, level. First order, 0 out of 100, Xiao Tian silently swallowed his saliva, and the excitement in his heart suddenly disappeared. Turning his head, he saw a circle of half-meter-high branches surrounding the territory, each connected to withered yellow thatch. It seemed that the area of this territory was 100 square meters. Then he turned his gaze from the fence to the distance. In the distance of his territory was an endless dark forest, but Xiao Tian could clearly hear the roar of wild beasts in the forest. Looking up at the sky, the dim sky gives a very oppressive feeling. At this moment, a rustling sound came from the distant forest, and Xiao Tian immediately looked in the direction of the sound. Ow! With a deep cry, it sounded. I saw a group of wild dogs jumping out of the bushes in the distance. There were a total of 5 dogs, which looked similar to common medium-sized dogs. They were half a meter tall, but their bodies were thin and bony. Monster. Wild Dog, Level. First level, this group of wild dogs wandered around the outskirts of Xiao Tian's territory, occasionally turning their heads greedily to look at him, gritting their teeth and drooling all over the ground. If Xiao Tian had a powerful army, he would have sent out the troops long ago and killed all these wild dogs. But looking at the densely packed larvae on the ground, Xiao Tian shook his head and his gaze fell on the scattered branches and stones on the ground. Resources. Branches, stones, whether to recycle, Xiao Tian frowned and said in surprise, recycling. Obtained resources. 20 units of wood, 5 units of stone. After receiving these resources, Xiao Tian also pondered how to use them, but the next moment he felt some knowledge about territory emerging in his mind. Later, Xiao Tian walked into the dilapidated house. As soon as he entered, he found a pitch-black stone tablet in the corner of the house. Xiao Tian walked forward and placed his hand on the stone tablet, which then displayed a row of interfaces. City Lord Information, Manufacturing, Friend Channel, Chat Channel, Trading Channel. Xiao Tian didn't care about anything else, but directly clicked on Manufacturing. After all, the most important thing now is to develop his own territory, and as for the rest, you can see later. Tool. Wooden axe, materials. 5 units of wood, 3 units of stone, tool. Wooden pickaxe, materials. 5 units of wood, 3 units of stone, tool. Sharp stone spear, materials. For units of wood, 1 unit of stone. Looking at the production interface in front of him, Xiao Tian consumed all his resources and made a sharp wooden stick. With the click to make, a 1-meter-long wooden stick with a fixed stone at the tip instantly appeared on the stone tablet. Xiao Tian picked up the wooden stick and shook it. It seems that there is no problem with the quality. If a stone tablet is produced, it must be a masterpiece. Closing the interface, Xiao Tian walked out of the house with a wooden stick. With a thought, the 100 larvae standing on the ground quickly joined Xiao Tian and arrived at the edge of the territory. At this moment, Xiao Tian looked at the 5 wild dogs outside the fence, constantly pondering how to minimize the losses. Outside the territory, 5 wild dogs stood in a row, greedily staring at Xiao Tian standing on the edge of the territory, as if ready to pounce and bite at any moment. After much thought, Xiao Tian finally decided to take advantage of the terrifying upright ape first. After lifting the wooden stick in his hand, Xiao Tian's mind twitched, and a larva moved through the fence and walked straight out of his territory. At this moment, the 5 poised wild dogs outside the territory also became excited in an instant, with a crimson glow in their eyes. The next moment, they flew straight towards them. Bang! Ow! Watching this group of wild dogs stumbling and turning on the invisible barrier, Xiao Tian's face showed a successful smile. After all, this is during the invincible novice protection period. Without hesitation, Xiao Tian commanded all the larvae to quickly run out of the territory. In an instant, all 100 larvae climbed onto the pack of wild dogs and began to constantly bite. And Xiao Tian was not idle either. He, who had already been prepared, forcefully poked the wooden stick in his hand towards the eyes of one of the wild dogs. As the sharp stone poked into the eyes of the wild dog at the top of the wooden stick, it let out loud cries and its body twitched wildly, but soon stopped breathing. Kill first level exotic beasts, experience +1. Looking at the bloody scene in front of him, Xiao Tian did not feel panicked, but rather had an indescribable sense of excitement. Pulling out the wooden stick, Xiao Tian poked at the eyes of another wild dog. But it seemed to sense the plight of its companion, and the wild dog suddenly shook off all the larvae on its body. With all his might, he dodged Xiao Tian's attack and then looked fiercely at him, leaping up and pouncing towards him. But this is not of much use. Even Xiao Tian did not rely on the barrier of novice protection, but instead stabbed the wooden stick into the mouth of this wild dog and directly nailed it to the ground. Soon, all 5 wild dogs were solved. For safety reasons, Xiao Tian did not leave his territory. Instead, He let the 100 larvae outside his territory drag the bodies of these 5 wild dogs back to his territory. Resource: wild dog carcass, whether to recycle for cycling. Obtained resources: 15 units of first-level meat, 30 units of first-level animal bones, 5 units of first-level animal skin, and 24 units of first-level animal teeth. Chapter 2. Deep into the Forest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Deep into the forest, Xiao Tian smiled happily when he saw the resources he had harvested. It was simply amazing, but he also needed to take advantage of the absence of other wild beasts and quickly go outside to collect resources. After all, only by gaining an advantage in the early stages can one roll their own advantages like a snowball, getting bigger and bigger. Xiao Tian thought this way, and then the 100 larvae around him collectively walked towards the outside of the territory. However, it was not too far away, just collecting scattered branches and stones on the outskirts of the territory. At this moment, Xiao Tian suddenly noticed that a blue crystal appeared at the place where the 5 wild dogs had died. Resource: First Order Raw Stone. Description: can provide 100 points of experience for lords or units. Xiao Tian's face showed joy, and then a collector dragged the original stone back to his territory. Holding the original stone in his hand, Xiao Tian thought for a moment and felt like there wasn't much place to use it, so he decided to keep it for now. Then, as he watched the larvae diligently collecting resources, Xiao Tian was not idle. He raised his hand towards the void and summoned the interface of the heart of the territory. When activating the stone tablet just now, Xiao Tian knew that he didn't need to go specifically to the stone tablet to view the interface, but could open it directly in any area within the territory. City Lord. Xiao Tian, level. First Order, 5/500, territory level. First level, branch. Zerg clan, collectors, 100 First Order larvae, architecture. First level Lord's mansion, first level worm nest, resources. 16 units of wood, 4 units of stone, 15 units of first-level meat, 30 units of first-level animal bones, 5 units of first-level animal skins, and 24 units of first-level animal teeth, raw stone. 1 unit of First Order raw stone, strange stone. None, prop. Sharp stone spear, special props. None. Looking at the 5 experience points on the level, Xiao Tian remembered that he had killed 2, and the remaining 3 were all killed by the larvae. However, this experience point was still counted towards himself. This feeling is quite good, it should be the benefit of being a lord. There is no need to go out for battle. As long as one's own unit engages in combat and kills enemies, one can gradually become stronger. As the unit belongs to the Zerg tribe, it should naturally be a relatively strong enemy force. Xiao Tian thought this way and then opened other interfaces. The friend channel was completely blank, which was normal. The trading channel was also blank, and it didn't seem very attractive. Xiao Tian opened the chat channel, and at the same time, he noticed a small line of text next to the chat channel, which read, Forest of Darkness. It seemed that this was just a chat channel for a region, and there was also a similar line next to the trading channel. The land of 10,000 clans. What kind of ghost place is this? Will there be a beast tide coming in 7 days? What kind of race competition? I just want to live well, not compete. Isn't it fair and just? Why is my initial unit being a chicken with a large number, but what's the use of that? I'm going crazy. It can be used to bake and eat, super delicious, hahaha, my initial unit is the saber-toothed tiger, can't I still protect myself? Sleeping trough, upstairs big shot bully. Boss, are you short of a younger brother? Please cover up. As more and more people speak on the channel, the chat channel has also exploded, with a large amount of useless information flooding the entire screen in an instant. But fortunately, Xiao Tian discovered a filtering information on the interface. After filtering out some useless moans and requests for help, the remaining information became somewhat useful. For example, many people cry that their troops have been bitten to death by some wild beasts, and those beasts turn around and run back to the forest after eating. This should be a special mechanism that can screen out some lords with limited abilities, while also giving them some opportunities. At least the exotic beasts outside the territory have left, so the lord can go outside to collect resources. However, in this case, there is a high probability that these lords will not have food. Xiao Tian pondered for a moment and realized that 1 unit of meat is equivalent to 1 kilogram. He could keep 5 units for himself, and the remaining 10 units could be traded in the market for resources at a high price. However, there is no need to put it on the market now. After all, it hasn't been long and there aren't many people with resources on hand. They can wait until they can't bear it anymore and then purchase at a high price. Xiao Tian couldn't help but show an evil smile on his face as he thought about it. Suddenly, a new message appeared on the chat channel. Xiao Tian's expression stiffened as he looked at it. I really envy those of you who have advanced troops. My troops only have some aquatic tribes, but my territory is right by the river and there is no shortage of water. Silently closing the interface, Xiao Tian turned his head and found that during the time he was browsing the channel, the collectors had piled up branches and stones into a small mountain, and the small resources outside the territory were no longer visible. After careful consideration, Xiao Tian ultimately decided to take the larvae deep into the forest. Otherwise, the resources he obtained would have to be used to purchase water from others. Instead of doing so, it would be better to obtain them himself. Of course, Xiao Tian didn't just think about going out because he had already dealt with a wave of exotic beasts, so he shouldn't keep coming. As long as he didn't leave the territory too far, it would be better. Otherwise, it would really be a dead end. Of course, there is one more thing to do before that. Xiao Tian took out the raw stone and then threw it to a collector larva, after confirming that the troops would absorb the raw stone. The larvae then bit the raw stone into pieces, and the energy contained inside began to continuously flow towards the larvae. Zhaoshuyuan.com. After making this decision, Xiao Tian smoothly led the recycling of resources in the area. Obtained resources: 400 units of wood, 100 units of stone. The resources piled up like small mountains disappear instantly, and in the next moment, they are all stored in the space of the heart of the territory, which is also very convenient. At least there is no need to separate areas in the territory to store resources. After recycling the resources, Xiao Tian opened the manufacturing interface and searched through the manufacturable interface for a while, finally finding what he needed. Tool: water storage bag. Material: 1 unit of animal skin, unlimited level. After the production was completed, Xiao Tian extracted this bag-shaped water storage bag and checked the situation. He found that this water storage bag can only hold 1 unit of water, and 1 unit of water is only 1 liter. So Xiao Tian made 4 more water storage bags and tied them all around his waist. Picking up the sharp wooden stick, Xiao Tian's gaze returned to the larva that was absorbing the raw stone. At this point, a crack appeared on the shell of this larva and was rapidly expanding. Soon, a brand new collector broke through its shell and crawled out. Branch: collectors, adults, level second order, 0/0. At this point, the collector is already a mature bug, originally only the size of a fist, but now it is as big as a basketball, with sharp limbs and mouthparts, and a very hard shell. However, it seems that it is no longer possible to upgrade, and it seems that the potential of the collector is only 2 levels. With all the troops, Xiao Tian followed the collectors out of the territory and walked through the bushes towards the forest. Chapter 3. Selling Food. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Selling Food. Xiao Tian followed the collector larvae into the forest. To ensure safety, the larvae were evenly distributed within a range of 1m to 5m around Xiao Tian, while the collector adult was at the front of the team. In the dimly lit forest, one could always hear the roar of some creatures. Despite being far away, Xiao Tian was still very cautious and vigilant all the way, wary of possible dangers. After walking through the forest for a while, Xiao Tian felt that he had walked a distance of nearly 100 meters when suddenly a small lake appeared in front of him. The lake water is clear to the bottom, making people want to drink at a glance. The larvae stopped by the small lake, looked around, and then distributed around the lake, centered around Xiao Tian. Feeling that it should be a safer situation, Xiao Tian walked forward, took off the water storage bags tied to his body, and then filled them all with water one by one. After filling the water, Xiao Tian turned his head and glanced at the adult collector guarding him. Branch. Collectors, adults, level. Second order, 0 out of 0, special status. Hunger, lack of water. Seeing this scene, Xiao Tian's face changed, and then he looked at the other larvae, realizing that they were all hungry or lacking in water to some extent. He immediately ordered the collectors to come in batches to drink water. After the collectors finished drinking water, the water shortage effect in the status bar disappeared. Xiao Tian took a long breath and let it go for now. As for the hunger state, it will be resolved when he returns to his territory. After the water source problem was solved, Xiao Tian followed the insect swarm to prepare to return to his territory. Suddenly, he noticed that there seemed to be some unusual movement in the distant bushes. He immediately clenched his stick, vigilantly staring at the bushes, and kept retreating. Exotic beast. Wild boar, level. First level. Suddenly, a 2-meter-long wild boar rushed out with blood-red eyes, charging towards Xiao Tian. Xiao Tian was startled, but quickly calmed down and commanded the larvae to make way first. As the wild boar approached, Xiao Tian immediately dodged towards the side, narrowly avoiding its impact and revealing a large stone behind him. And the wild boar didn't have time to turn or slow down, and crashed straight into the stone, then let out a painful howl. Upon seeing this scene, Xiao Tiangang stood firm and immediately thrust his wooden stick towards the wild boar's head, accurately hitting its eye and piercing it through. At the same time, several collector larvae emerged from the bushes and pounced on the wild boar. On the rocks, the collector adults leapt and fell onto the boar's back, piercing its flesh with their sharp mouthparts. The wild boar struggled frantically, but eventually fell to the ground. Xiao Tian breathed a sigh of relief and, upon hearing the system's announcement, confirmed its death. He then walked over to the body of the wild boar. Kill first-level exotic beasts, experience +1, Xiao Tian nodded in satisfaction and then looked at the body of the wild boar. The boar's size seemed to be basically 200 kilograms, which would be 200 units if it were for resources. However, he definitely couldn't drag it and could only hand it over to the collectors. About half of the larvae are transporting the body of this wild boar, and the journey of about 100 meters takes more than twice the original time. As he walked, Xiao Tian noticed that as the sun gradually set, the already dark forest became even more gloomy. Xiao Tian felt a hint of unease in his heart and decided to drag the body of the wild boar back to his territory with the larvae. However, a deep roar suddenly sounded, and the entire forest seemed to shake. The dim sky seemed to have accumulated a layer of clouds and mist, with a blood-red light shining down through the clouds, warning. At night, the ability of exotic beasts will receive a bonus, but the chance of killing beasts to obtain raw or exotic stones will increase. Upon hearing the prompt sound, Xiao Tian's face changed and he could feel the rapidly approaching vibration behind him. He didn't pay much attention to it anymore, so he urged all the collectors to quickly transport the bodies of wild boars back to his territory. Fortunately, there were only over 10 meters left from the territory, and with the full transportation of the collectors, they were quickly transported back to the territory. Turning around to look outside his territory, Xiao Tian saw about 20 exotic beasts running out of the forest, each with a body size of over 1 meter, most of which were first-order exotic beasts, and a few were second-order exotic beasts. But at this moment, they are all squeezed against the barrier and unable to approach. After taking out the water storage bag and drinking a sip of water, Xiao Tian put the remaining 4 water storage bags into the Lord's space, and also collected the body of this wild boar. Obtained resources: 60 units of first-level meat, 140 units of first-level animal bones, 12 units of first-level animal skin, and 4 units of first-level animal teeth. After recycling, Xiao Tian suddenly remembered the hungry larvae and then took out 10 units of meat. After giving all 10 units of meat to the larvae, Xiao Tian opened a chat channel to pass the time. "Where's Li Feng, big shot? Do you still have food? Help the child, is there any big shot who can put some more food on the shelves? I didn't even grab it before, but now my troops are so hungry that their eyes turn red when they look at me. The brothers upstairs suggest that you send out the soldiers to deliver, so at least there will be food. I also want to, but there are a bunch of strange beasts outside, and even the wolf commander can't command anymore." Xiao Tian looked at the person in the channel who was known as Li Feng's boss, and found the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com. He remembered that he seemed to be the one who mentioned that the troops were saber-toothed tigers before, but now it seems that he is indeed. Continuing to brush, Xiao Tian noticed that the transaction previously posted by Li Feng was to exchange 50 units of wood or 25 units of stone for 1 unit of meat, but the actual number of units listed was only 30 units. Watching the messages on the channel asking for food one after another, Xiao Tian pondered for a moment and then decided to list 50 units of meat in exchange for resources. Product: 1 unit of first-order meat, price: 100 units of wood or 50 units of stone, inventory. 50 units. As soon as 50 units of meat were put on the shelves, they were all acquired in less than 2 seconds. Obtained resources: 3,000 units of wood, 1,000 units of stone. Xiao Tian smiled and then clicked on the chat channel again. Crouching slot: Xiao Tian, the big shot, has killed so many exotic beasts so quickly. Sigh, there are actually 50 units of meat. Is Xiao Tian's army stronger than Li Feng's saber-toothed tiger? No, didn't you notice that this unscrupulous merchant's price is twice that of Li Feng's boss? Indeed. With such a good branch of the army, they are selling at such a high price. How despicable. Everyone boycott him together. Looking at these statements, Xiao Tian didn't care. After all, at this stage, food has a price but no market, and supply is in short supply. If you don't buy, some people will buy. If you lower the price because of this, it is foolish. After closing the chat channel, Xiao Tian glanced at the collectors gathered together. At this point, the hunger on the collectors had disappeared, and their loyalty had returned to its original level. Chapter 4. New Services. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. New Services. 100 larvae consume 10 units of meat per day. Xiao Tian muttered, took out 1 unit of wood and started a small fire. Then he extracted 1 unit of meat and strung it together with the extra wood from the fire. In no time, the large piece of exotic beast meat on the small fire was sizzlingly emitting oil, and the rich meat aroma gradually permeated the entire territory. Even the crazy group of exotic beasts outside the territory became even crazier. Unfortunately, there is no seasoning. Ignoring the crazy roar of exotic beasts outside the territory, Xiao Tianmei ate happily and then arrived outside the dilapidated house. Ordinary architecture. City Lord's Mansion, initial level. First level, upgrade required. 1,000 units of wood, 500 units of stone, current status. Invincible. Noticing that the resources required to upgrade the City Lord's Mansion were already sufficient, Xiao Tian was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that the resources required for this upgrade were not particularly large. But on second thought, after all, I have obtained a large amount of resources through trading. If we look at the speed of resource collection by collectors, the fastest way to gather all the resources is the next day, or even the third day. Without hesitation, Xiao Tian directly upgraded the Lord's mansion. After all, if you want to upgrade the worm nest, you also need to first upgrade the level of the Lord's mansion. In an instant, a dazzling light enveloped the entire territory, but soon the light dissipated, and the entire territory underwent tremendous changes. The original Lord's mansion was a fragile thatched cottage, but now it has become a sturdy house made of wood, although the beds inside are still thatched. Then there is the fence around the territory, which is now surrounded by wooden fences and looks much stronger than before. Surprisingly, the scope of the territory has not increased, but it is currently not very needed. Your territory has been upgraded to level 2, ordinary architecture. City Lord's Mansion, initial level. Second order, upgrade required. 10,000 units of wood, 5,000 units of stone, 1,000 units of iron ore, current status. Invincible, oh my goodness, I actually need iron ore. Let's just sleep. Xiao Tian glanced at the red-eyed beasts piled up outside his territory, and then let the larvae rest in front of them. He also returned to the Lord's mansion to sleep. The next day. As soon as Xiao Tian woke up, he touched the edge of the bed, but suddenly remembered the current situation. He rolled over and under the bed, and in an instant, he woke up. Stepping out of the Lord's mansion, the larvae had already awakened. After discovering Xiao Tian's emergence, they collectively made way for him to emerge from the larval group. After Xiao Tian walked out, his gaze turned to the outside of the territory. At this moment, the land outside the territory could not be said to be a mess, but rather a land full of resources, with a large number of small trees broken on the ground. However, Xiao Tian discovered that there were some bones of wild beasts outside his territory, and there were no complete corpses. Strangely enough, a group of strange beasts that were the same as those seen yesterday suddenly emerged from the forest. But what's different is that the number of these wild dogs has increased to 10, and their body size is much stronger than yesterday's wild dogs. Xiao Tian's face turned a bit ugly, but there is currently no way to solve this group of wild dogs. Subsequently, Xiao Tian walked devoutly to the insect nest and raised his hand to point out the interface for nurturing troops. While clicking, he shouted, "Insect nest. Start." As the insect nest cracked open, one by one the collector larvae emerged from it, like a highly anticipated lottery, but pulled out an ordinary piece of garbage. Suddenly, Xiao Tian noticed a group of different troops walking out of the insect nest. Xiao Tian looked at the spider the size of a basketball. The sharp parts of each limb of this spider-like unit were covered in a shell, and then Xiao Tian saw its interface. Branch. Killer, larva, level. First order, 0/150, obtain troops. 73 units of collectors, larvae, 27 units of killers, larvae. Seeing this scene, Xiao Tian couldn't help but laugh out loud. Although the number of hunters was very small and they were still larvae, they were at least a combat-type unit. After drawing the prize, the problem now returns to the group of wild dogs outside the territory. 10 strong wild dogs were wandering outside the territory, which made Xiao Tian decide to implement a new plan and solve them according to yesterday's method. But there are also differences, such as not taking action on your own, but letting the hunters attack. After all, you also need to test the abilities of the hunters. Subsequently, Xiao Tian selected a lucky collector. As the collector stepped out of his territory, as expected, the group of wild dogs spotted their target in an instant and flew towards them. Nearly half of the wild dogs collided with the invisible barrier, making a crisp sound. And just as these half-wild dogs fell to the ground, the hunters climbed up the fence, aimed at these fallen wild dogs, and sprayed a sticky liquid from their mouths. These wild dogs make loud growls when they come into contact with the viscous liquid, but it doesn't seem to be due to pain. Xiao Tian noticed that the area sprayed by the hunters was the limbs of these wild dogs, and the mucus became exceptionally tough after solidification, making it difficult for their limbs to move and only able to whimper. Xiao Tian laughed heartily. This could be considered a turn of luck. Subsequently, the 4 wild dogs that had lost their mobility were dragged into the territory, and the hunters poked and quickly dealt with all 4 wild dogs. He turned his head to look at the remaining 6 wild dogs outside his territory, and at this moment, these wild dogs seemed to have a fearful thought and were constantly retreating into the forest. After seeing the abilities of the hunters, Xiao Tian was also full of confidence, even directing them to chase after the group of wild dogs. Zhaozuiyuan.com. But unexpectedly, the group of wild dogs did not run, but instead flew towards the hunters. As a result, he was sprayed with a sticky liquid in the air, falling to the ground one by one and howling, and then all of them were stabbed to death. After this group of wild dogs was solved, the collectors also walked out of the territory, collecting some of the surrounding resources, and some dragged the bodies of the wild dogs back to the territory. After dragging the body of the wild dog back, Xiao Tian was pleasantly surprised to find that the collectors had brought back the 3 original stones that the wild dog had dropped. In fact, after killing the monster, in addition to reporting an increase in experience points, there is also a chance to report the drop of raw stones, but unfortunately, they cannot be directly delivered to the Lord space. Resources obtained: 75 units of first-level meat, 125 units of first-level animal bones, 10 units of first-level animal skin, 48 units of first-level animal teeth, and 3 units of first-level raw stones. After handing over 3 raw stones to 2 hunters, Xiao Tian opened the Lord interface. City Lord. Xiao Tian, level. First level, 16/500, territory level. Second level, branch. Zerg clan, collectors, 172 first-order larvae and 1 second-order adult, hunters, 25 first-order larvae and 2 second-order adults, architecture. Second-level Lord's Mansion, first-level insect nest, resources. 2,399 units of wood, 600 units of stone, 89 units of first-level meat, 295 units of first-level animal bones, 22 units of first-level animal skins, 76 units of first-level animal teeth, original stone. None, strange stone. None, props. For units of water storage bag, full, 1 unit of water storage bag, consumed, special props. None. Chapter 5. Powerful Hunters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Powerful Hunters. After seeing the existing resources and branches, Xiao Tian was in a good mood and then noticed that someone was buying food again on the trading channel. So Xiao Tian listed 50 units of meat again, and the price remained the same as yesterday, although some people may have accumulated enough troops like him today. But if there is really enough strength, then yesterday there won't be only myself and Li Feng selling food. And there were more than 2 people who needed to buy food, probably thousands. Xiao Tian glanced at the trading market and, as expected, was instantly knocked off the shelves. Obtained resources: 3,700 units of wood and 650 units of stone. I'll go. Why can't Xiao Tian put on more shelves? How can 50 units be enough? What's your hand speed? My eyes didn't even blink, so they disappeared. After glancing at the information on the chat channel, Xiao Tian shook his head. If he still couldn't get the food, he probably wouldn't have a chance tomorrow. Perhaps the first group of lords to be counterattacked by their own branches will soon appear. However, as competitors, if they die, it shouldn't have a significant impact on themselves. Right. It doesn't seem certain either. If no one trades, the speed at which one obtains resources will be much slower. Thinking of this, Xiao Tian closed the interface and turned his head to see that the 2 hunters had already evolved. The body, which was originally the size of a basketball, had now reached half a meter long. Out of trust in the strength of the troops, Xiao Tian decided to let them go hunting on their own. Unexpectedly, after walking a certain distance, the collectors and hunters suddenly stopped in place. Xiao Tian's face stiffened, and then a warning sound came on. Except for some special branches, all other branches need to be within a certain area of the lord or territory before they can take action. Xiao Tian gritted his teeth when he heard this message, but he couldn't help but open the manufacturing interface to see what equipment could be manufactured. Tool. First Order Bone Head Armor, Materials. 40 units of first-level animal bones and 5 units of first-level animal skins, Tool. First Order Bone Breastplate, Materials. 90 units of first-level animal bones and 10 units of first-level animal skins, Tool. First Order Bone Leg Armor, Materials. 70 units of first-level animal bones and 7 units of first-level animal skins. After looking at the equipment that can be manufactured now, he found that to make a complete set, it would require 200 units of first-level animal bones and 22 units of first-level animal skins. And coincidentally, one's own resources are sufficient. Directly click on Manufacturing. At the next moment, these 3 pieces of equipment will appear in the territory space. Xiao Tian took out the equipment and looked at it with great interest. After all, it was still made of bones and looked terrifying on the outside, but it didn't scare him. There is also a small issue, which is the raised hook on this armor. Although it can defend against attacks from other monsters, it also hinders one's own movement. But at least with this set of equipment, he had great security against first-order monsters. Then, Xiao Tian put on his equipment and followed the swarm of insects out of his territory. Xiao Tian divided the insect swarm that was going out into 2 teams. On the first day, 100 collectors were collecting resources within the territory, while he, along with today's collectors and hunters, went deep into the forest to hunt exotic beasts. Continuing along the path of the first day, the formation remained the same as before. The collectors formed a circle around Xiao Tian, while the positions of the hunters were somewhat unique. Xiao Tian looked up at the air, and one by one the hunters spat out spider silk, building huge webs on the branches and moving along them. Today is different from the first day. Not long after leaving, a strange beast with red eyes walked out of the grass, ignoring the insect swarm and rushing towards Xiao Tian. The foul smell never boils from the mouth, nor does it gush out from the mouth. But Xiao Tian didn't panic, just calmly glanced at him, then turned his head uninterested and headed towards the original path. At the next moment, more than 10 threads of silk shot down from the air, entwining the exotic beast in a tangled pattern. Kill first-level exotic beasts, experience +1, returning to the small lake, Xiao Tian filled the water storage bag he carried with him with water, and then used the original method to have the insect swarm drink water in batches. As for the batch within his territory, he had to bring water back by himself. Looking further away, he remembered that the wild boar from yesterday had run out from there, so he sent some collectors to explore the way. After the collectors cleared the bushes ahead, what appeared in front of them was still the same environment as the surrounding trees. But Xiao Tian had a feeling that there would be even more danger ahead. Continuing forward, as we walked past the small lake, a warning sound rang in our ears again. Leaving the beginner zone of the territory and now entering the danger zone, it seemed to be verifying the accuracy of this prompt sound, and the next moment, Xiao Tian heard strange noises coming from around. But before the other party could appear, the hunters on the tree rushed forward. After a while, Xiao Tian heard a few mournful cries, and the surroundings quieted down, except for the constant sound of warning sounds in his ears. As the hunters returned, Xiao Tian also saw the source of the strange noise. It's a wolf pack, with a total of 10 wolves, which is much more threatening than those 10 wild dogs, but in just a little while, they were all solved by the hunters. Seeing this, Xiao Tian couldn't help but feel a little emotional. If there were hunters yesterday and you could find the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com, then the wave of small beasts last night would allow you to take off directly. But it's not too late now. Subsequently, he took 3 first-order raw stones from the mouth of the hunter. After thinking for a moment, Xiao Tian decided that it would be better to rely on war to sustain the war. Therefore, he handed these 3 raw stones to 2 of the hunter larvae. After a period of time, some strange beasts came to die one after another, and the number of strange beasts hunted by the hunters had increased from 11 to 25, and 4 raw stones had also fallen. 3 raw stones were separated and given to 2 hunters. Now Xiao Tian has 6 adult hunters. Looking up at the dimly lit sky and unable to open the personal interface, Xiao Tian decided to go back and rest for a while. After all, 25 exotic beasts have already been hunted, and the hunters are all tired. If they continue to fight, they don't know if their loyalty will decrease. Xiao Tian is not someone who only knows how to squeeze child labor. Returning to his territory along the path he had taken, Xiao Tian looked in surprise at the collapsed trees around him as he was about to return. These trees cannot compare to the towering trees in the forest, but they are also very large, reaching a height of nearly 10 meters. However, they have all collapsed now, and it seems that they were all made by the collectors. A large portion of the trees have been transported back to the territory, with only a few remaining outside that cannot be filled. Xiao Tian nodded in satisfaction and then took out 20. 30 units of meat and 4 full water storage bags. After distributing these to 200 Zerg soldiers, he began the process of harvesting resources. Resources obtained: 7,930 units of wood, 1,390 units of stone, 296 units of first-level meat, 537 units of first-level animal bones, 25 units of first-level animal skins, 102 units of first-level animal teeth, and 1 unit of first-level raw stone. Chapter 6. Adding Friends. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Adding friends. Watching the large amount of resources harvested, Xiao Tian couldn't help but laugh. Then, he looked at the time and found that it was already past 4 p.m. He took out 1 unit of meat and 1 unit of wood to start barbecue, and began counting the resources. The quantity of wood has reached the standard for upgrading the city lord's mansion, with over 14,000 pieces, but the amount of stone is relatively small, only over 2,000, which is only half of the quantity, and there is not a single iron ore. So when selling meat today, you can exchange more stone or iron ore. The total amount of meat is over 300, and Xiao Tian has decided to take out 250 units for sale. However, there is no rush to sell now. Let's see the situation. After being hungry for so long, I finally have food to eat. Li Feng, the big shot, resolutely resists Xiao Tian's unscrupulous businessman who only takes advantage of the fire and squeezes his fellow countrymen. Do you still have Mr. Li Feng? 100 units of meat is not enough. Upon seeing this information, Xiao Tian smiled indifferently and then opened the trading market, hanging 250 units of meat. The price remained unchanged, but there was only an additional option, which could be prioritized by exchanging 20 units of iron ore or 50 units of stone. A few seconds later, the meat on the shelves was quickly purchased at a considerable speed. Obtained resources: 5,900 units of wood, 7,900 units of stone, 660 units of iron ore. I'll go. 250 units of meat. How many monsters did this kill? Xiao Tian, this is going against the sky. I don't have much resources left to exchange, so I'll go compete with the exotic beasts outside my territory tomorrow, damn it. With such a strong army and such exploitation of compatriots, if it were me, it would definitely sell at the lowest price. What does iron ore do and what needs it for? Is it the material for upgrading the Lord's mansion? But even a second-level Lord's mansion doesn't require iron ore. Is Xiao Tian already preparing to be promoted to the 3rd level of the city Lord's mansion? At this moment, Xiao Tian didn't pay much attention to the conversation on the chat channel. He just looked at the interface for obtaining resources and smiled. Maybe tomorrow we can elevate the Lord's mansion to the 3rd level. If we work hard, perhaps we can elevate the worm nest to the 2nd level tonight. If not, tomorrow is enough. As for the sarcasm and ridicule of others, what is the significance for oneself? It's just a bit of wind and frost. I will eventually step on them to reach the pinnacle of this world. In an unknown area of the dark forest. A man looked at the message on the chat channel and sneered, it's nothing more than relying on the strength of his own troops. Oh, just focusing on immediate interests, I'm not sure how many lords will target him. It's just an arrogant man, and I have already established enough reputation and prestige by stepping on you in the dark forest. The man shook his head and then looked at the 4 saber-toothed tigers next to him who were devouring meat with great excitement in their eyes. But with his strength, if he can win over, it will be a big help for me. Li Feng thought this way and then sent a friend request to Xiao Tian. In an area close to the mountains in the dark forest. A teenage girl excitedly looked at a group of green-skinned dwarfs in front of her and danced, saying, you must work hard. As long as you dig up enough iron ore, you can exchange it for food. As the girl spoke, she extracted 20 units of meat from the Lord's space and distributed them to these 20 cheerful little dwarfs. She also looked at the last 10 units of meat left in the Lord's space with great concern. Swallowed some saliva, but couldn't hold back and took out 0.5 units from it to bake. Smelling the tempting fragrance, a faint blush appeared on the pale cheeks of the girl. The girl's name is Ling Hua, and her unit is the Goblin Clan. This type of unit has poor combat ability and it is difficult to successfully hunt monsters. But the movement speed is fast and it can also escape, so on the first day, you can collect resources under the sight of wild dogs. Moreover, the goblins have a special ability to perceive minerals underground, and Ling Hua's territory is already close to the mountains. So Ling Hua collected a lot of iron ore in the past 2 days, but unfortunately, no one needed iron ore on the first day. But fortunately, due to Xiao Tian's fault today, Ling Hua's iron ore also has a place to sell. After eating and drinking enough, Ling Hua excitedly commanded the goblins to continue mining. Even if the beast tied on the 7th day cannot survive on its own, we should not give up that possibility now. Looking at the flickering friend interface, Xiao Tian felt that it was better to set a ban on adding friends, but there was nothing wrong now, so he clicked in. Subsequently, there were a large number of applications to add friends, and a few of them came to beg for food from Xiao Tian because the prices they offered were very insincere. Especially one person said that their unit is the Meima tribe and they want to send a few over to warm Xiao Tian's bed. Joke, how could a righteous gentleman accept such a thing? How could he endure such a warm bed on a hot day? Subsequently, Xiao Tian rejected the friend applications of several other people who offered insincere quotes. Although Xiao Tian has rejected many people's friend applications, this is only one part of the many applications. Later, he was too lazy to read and went to the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com, so Xiao Tian directly refused with just one click. I clicked on other interfaces and easily created 25 water storage bags. Later, Xiao Tian closed the interface, and now it's around 5 p.m. As expected, scrolling through chat records is still a waste of time. He looked at the collector who continued to collect resources after eating and drinking, and felt that he was really putting in his best effort. Then Xiao Tian strung 30 water storage bags together, took all the hunters and 50 collectors, and walked out of the territory, then towards the small lake. Quickly arriving at the small lake, Xiao Tian, under the protection of the insect swarm, filled all 30 water storage bags with water. Throwing the water storage bag to the collector, as he was about to leave, Xiao Tian suddenly heard a faint sound in the distance. He didn't care, maybe it was just a strange beast, but the hunters still rushed over under Xiao Tian's command. The source of that sound seemed to be noticing the actions of the hunters. The subtle sound suddenly grew louder, but then it grew further and further away, and the speed did not even catch up with the hunters. Upon discovering this situation, Xiao Tian was also somewhat surprised. It should not be a strange beast, otherwise he wouldn't have run away directly. But now it's very close to night, otherwise Xiao Tian would definitely catch up with the hunters. After returning to the territory, with only a few minutes left until night, Xiao Tian also urged the collectors outside to hurry back to the territory. Waiting for the night to fall, when the tide of small beasts came, Xiao Tian noticed that there were more than 30 exotic beasts in total, including 3 second-order exotic beasts. I took another look at the somewhat lethargic swarm of insects. I have no choice but to sleep. Despite the presence of exotic beasts wandering outside the territory, the night passed peacefully. Chapter 7. The Town of the Demon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Demon's Town, Worm Nest. Start. The first thing Xiao Tian did when he woke up from his sleep was to come to the insect nest and conceive the soldiers of today. Obtained units: 57 collectors, larvae, and 43 killers, larvae. I'll go. Xiao Tian looked at today's troops in surprise. The number of hunters was almost half of the day, and his luck was almost flying. Looking at the 70 hunters in front of him, including 6 second-order adults, Xiao Tian felt that today's small beast tide might have a chance to be solved. Subsequently, a wave of exotic beasts also arrived outside the territory every day. Today, there were 20 exotic wolf beasts, all of which were first-order. 70 hunters directly submerged them. Obtained resources: 246 units of first-level meat, 487 units of first-level animal bones, 20 units of first-level animal skins, 82 units of first-level animal teeth, and 6 units of first-level raw stones. The harvest was unexpected, there were actually 6 raw stones. Now Xiao Tian has a total of 7, so he needs to work hard today. Allocate the team. Xiao Tian brought 70 hunters and 100 collectors today. In fact, Xiao Tian initially thought of only bringing hunters, but suddenly realized that hunters were not suitable for transporting resources, so he still brought collectors. Together with the insect swarm, Xiao Tian arrived at the familiar small lake and looked in a direction. That is the location of that strange creature yesterday. The collectors came forward to clear the bushes in that area. Xiao Tian looked carefully and found some small footprints on the soil, which immediately tightened his heart. Did you meet someone else? But this footprint doesn't look like it's too small, it's barefoot, and there's also some pitch black gray on the footprint. After pondering for a while, Xiao Tian decided to follow up and see the situation. So the collector explored the way ahead, while Xiao Tian followed behind. The pursuers continued to escort in the air as before. Along the way, I walked several hundred meters, and occasionally some exotic beasts would jump out, and then be rushed forward by the hunters and directly stabbed to death. Killed 30.7 exotic beasts, but surprisingly, 10 of the original stones fell. Especially there was a second-level exotic wild boar that was stabbed to death by the hunters before it could withstand it a few times. Its massive body was immediately devoured by the insect swarm, and its experience points were increased by 5 points at once. Unfortunately, it did not drop the raw stone. Looking back at the corpses of exotic beasts hanging on the spider web in the air, Xiao Tian felt that the troops couldn't leave him too far away. This mechanism was really a trap. If the distance from the territory is too far, it is difficult to bring back most of the killed exotic beasts, but one thing is better, the explosion rate of the raw stones has significantly increased. After the insect swarm finished eating, Xiao Tian continued to walk along the footprints on the ground, feeling that he had walked a distance of 2 kilometers. Suddenly, he noticed a strange noise in the bushes ahead. The hunters quickly approached, and a dozen or so threads flew towards the bushes. In the next moment, several pitch-black dwarf creatures ran out of the bushes. After seeing Xiao Tian and the swarm of insects beside him, he also fled in fear in the opposite direction. Target: Voldemort, level. First level. Seeing this situation, Xiao Tian also asked the hunters to keep a certain distance behind them to follow, but in fact, it was because they were very fast and the hunters couldn't catch up with them on the trees. But at the beginning, it was still possible to catch it. The main reason for not catching it was because there was a high probability of not understanding the other person's language, otherwise I would just come over and ask a question. After chasing for about a few hundred meters, the pitch-black footprints disappeared in front of a cave in a mountain range. Looking at the cave that was only over 1 meter high, Xiao Tian did not follow recklessly, but instead asked the insect swarm to explore the situation around. After confirming that there were no other creatures around, Xiao Tian also mixed the collectors and hunters into a small team and entered the cave. After a while, the sound of battle came from the cave, and the insect swarm did not suffer any damage, while Xiao Tian did not hear the prompt to kill the exotic beast. Then he also crouched down and entered the cave. After walking more than 10 meters inside the cave, the originally narrow cave suddenly opened up. Not far ahead was a small town located inside the cave. However, the interior of this cave has not been completely hollowed out, so it looks very oppressive. At the exit of the cave at this moment, a swarm of insects was surrounding several demons, who were unable to move due to being entangled in spider silk and could only make a whoosh. But unexpectedly, Xiao Tian found that although the other party's language was something he had never heard before, he could understand their meaning. Perhaps this is a special ability of the Lord. Xiao Tian thought about it this way, and then he heard the several demons shouting incessantly, "Help," or, "There are invaders," or something like that. "What level is your leader?" Xiao Tian asked directly. As soon as these words were spoken, the group of demons also froze. In their ears, Xiao Tian's language was also unheard of, but they could directly understand its meaning. Although this group of demons really wants to move out the leader of their own tribe to intimidate these invaders, in reality, the leader of the demons is only a 3rd level, and they are already very old, and their strength is no longer at the normal level of 3rd level. And there are hundreds of strange creatures around, each with a minimum of 1st order, including several 2nd order creatures. Although my own ethnic group also has some 2nd order counterparts, my recent life has been extremely difficult. I have been searching for books at www.zhaozhuiyuan.com, especially those wild beasts that have become very powerful for some reason. Several 2nd order members of the same species within the tribe were injured during hunting, and even the clan leader suffered significant damage while resisting wild beasts. Facing so many monsters now, even the leader would be surrounded and killed. Thinking of this, the Demort pretended to be strong and said, "Our Demort clan is a vassal of the Bull Demon town. There are 5th level and several 4th level strongmen in the Bull Demon town. If you deal with us, then the Bull Demon clan will not let you go." "Oh, so strong." Xiao Tian said nonchalantly, then showed an evil smile and said, "I understand. Your demon clan thinks they don't have enough strength to face me, so they moved out of other races to scare us away. That's too bad." Xiao Tian looked coldly at the demon, then turned his head to look at the hunters and smiled, "Slaughter the city." As Xiao Tian's words fell, the surrounding insects also took action and ran towards the distant city. Seeing this, the demon also shouted in panic, "No! No! We surrender! We surrender!" After the Demort finished shouting, the moving swarm of insects instantly stopped in place, as if the murderous aura just now was all faked. Xiao Tian also nodded in satisfaction. He didn't expect his moral character to be so high. He only used one sentence throughout the process to subdue these demons, making them willing to take the initiative to submit to him. In order to show his acceptance of his subjects and his determination to bring them a better life, Xiao Tian then said, "Go ahead and let all your tribe surrender, while also moving out all your important resources. Needles and thread are not needed." Chapter 8. Demon Surrender. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Demon Surrender. The Demort froze when he heard this, opened his mouth but didn't say anything. He just stood up dejectedly, allowing the hunters to cut open the threads on their bodies, and then walked towards the town with the other Demorts. Xiao Tian didn't keep up, but waited in place, then boredly looked at the weapons and equipment that had fallen to the ground. After about 10 minutes, the closed gate of the town ahead reopened, and then about 10 or so demons emerged from it. The leading demon looks very old, but its aura is still stronger than the other demons. In the center of the team, there are some demons wearing somewhat tattered armor and holding weapons, all of whom have a second level but have suffered varying degrees of damage. As for the last few demons in the team, they were the group that had just surrendered, working together to carry several large boxes. After walking 10 meters in front of Xiao Tian, this group of demons stopped because the hunters were blocking in this area. Looking at the huge swarm of insects in front of me, although their aura is not strong, the aura emitted by this group unexpectedly makes me feel scared. So when facing this creature that wants to make itself submit, even if the other person has only one rank, it dare not resist. Moreover, he is not for himself, but also for hundreds of his peers in the town. The leader of the demonic demon lowered his head and said respectfully, "Respected powerhouse, our demonic clan is willing to submit to you. Congratulations to the Lord for obtaining the submission of local forces. Rewards: 1 unit of first-level alien stone and 1 unit of territory transfer card." Upon hearing the system prompt, Xiao Tian raised his eyebrows and then looked around to find that the strange stone and the territory transfer card seemed to have been directly stored in the Lord's space and could not be opened or seen outside. On the other hand, after the demon leader finished speaking, the few demons in the back row carried boxes forward and walked to the center of the hunters. After placing the boxes, opened them one by one. Xiao Tian took a look and found that the first box contained some equipment. Through the system's prompt sound, he learned that it was some third-level equipment, including even fourth-level equipment. However, it was not very useful for himself, as this size was too small. The second box contains some minerals, but they are all second and third order, without ordinary iron ore. For Xiao Tian, their current use is not significant. Finally, the third box was opened, and Xiao Tian's eyes lit up because all the stones inside were raw stones, and most of them were first order. Seeing that Xiao Tian seemed very interested in the raw stones, the demon leader quickly said, "Lord, these are all the raw stones stored by our demon clan, of which there are 63 in the first level and 11 in the second level." Xiao Tian nodded satisfactorily and said, "Call me Lord. You can keep those 2 boxes for now. I need the raw stone and iron ore." Upon hearing this, the demon leader was also taken aback. After all, it is understandable that they need raw stones, but why do they need ordinary resources like iron ore? But in the end, he didn't say anything, just nodded in agreement, and then commanded other demons to reorganize their resources. Just as the demons were tidying up their resources, Xiao Tian also asked about the injuries on the demon leader's body, but he would still wait for the demon leader's answer when suddenly a howl came from outside the cave. Xiao Tian appeared very calm because he could hear that it was the cry of a wolf, and it was probably a group of newly emerged exotic wolves. But on the other hand, the demon leader appeared somewhat fearful, as if he also knew who the source of the sound was. Then a series of footsteps sounded, and the sound quickly approached. Soon, 20 strange beasts and wolves ran out of the cave passage. The leading one, even a third-order monster, has a body length of over 2 meters. Upon seeing this situation, all the creatures of the demon clan were in a state of panic, picking up weapons and shields from the ground. Although their hands trembled a bit, they still stood in a row, blocking in front of Xiao Tian. "Lord! It's these wolves." Upon hearing the words of the demon leader, Xiao Tian nodded and then took a step back to protect everyone, while directing the collector to intervene. After all, the collectors do not have much combat power. Xiao Tianing would rather have a few collectors killed in this battle than a hunter killed. At the same time as the swarm of insects moved, the wolf pack opposite also moved, and the first to be affected was the third-level wolf king. At an extremely fast speed, he easily dodged the mucus sprayed by the hunters, then extended his head forward and bit into the body of a collector, crushing it on the spot. Shao Tian furrowed his brows and said, "You can hold this Wolf King." As soon as the words fell, the swarm of insects set their sights on other exotic beasts, wolves, leaving only 10 hunters to assist the demon. Upon seeing this, the demon leader gritted his teeth and let out a loud roar before charging forward with a weapon. Shao Tian stood in a safe area, looking at the whole situation with ease, while the sound of prompts to kill exotic beasts kept ringing in his ears. This second-level monster is not as capable as a third-level monster, and appears very embarrassed when facing hunters of the same level. Quickly, these wolves were entangled by 60 hunters, and then all were stabbed to death, dropping a second-order raw stone. Resource: Second-order raw stone. Description: can provide 500 experience points for lords or units. Looking at the raw stone sent by the collector, Shao Tian's eyebrows relaxed. Although he was a bit surprised, a second-level raw stone could satisfy his experience for upgrading, he was still more joyful. It seems that when you see something you haven't seen before in the future, you should directly look at the description. Shao Tian thought this way and then decided on the option to absorb the raw stone. At the next moment, the original stone shattered in his hand, and the internal energy flowed unobstructed into Shao Tian's body. Zhaozhuiyuan.com. Feeling the increasing power, Shao Tian only felt exceptionally comfortable. As the original stone was completely shattered, he felt as if his body had broken a shackle, and at this point, Shao Tian's level had also reached level 2. After reaching level 2, Shao Tian suddenly realized that his troops could grow beyond the farthest range of himself or his territory. Originally, it was only 25 meters, but now it seems that it can reach 75 meters. This is good news. As the level increases and you can control the farthest distance the troops can reach, you can stay in a safe territory. Then Shao Tian thought of something and raised his hand towards the void, and his personal interface appeared in front of him. It seems that as the level increases, the Lord's permissions also increase, but unfortunately, resources cannot be directly stored in the Lord's space, nor can they be directly recycled. City Lord. Shao Tian, level. Second order, 680/5W, territory level. Second level, branch. Zerg clan, collectors, 228 first-order larvae and 1 second-order adult, hunters, 64 first-order larvae in 6 second-order adults, architecture. Second-level Lord's Mansion, first-level insect nest, resources. 19,928 units of wood, 10,440 units of stone, 660 units of iron ore, 297 units of first-level meat, 1,119 units of first-level animal bones, 20 units of first-level animal skins, 260 units of first-level animal teeth, raw stone. 17 units of first-order raw stone, Escher. 1 unit of first-order Escher, prop. 30 units of water storage bag, full, special props. First-order bone armor, first-order bone chest armor, first-order bone leg armor, 1 unit territory transfer card. Chapter 9. Preparation before night. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Preparation before night. I'll go. Looking at the 50,000 experience points on the level bar, Shao Tian's mouth twitched from 500 to 50,000. If his level continued to rise, he couldn't even imagine how much experience he would need. Subsequently, the interface was closed, and Shao Tian noticed that the battle on the other side had also ended. Even though it was a third-order monster wolf, it was quickly killed under the siege of hundreds of insects and demons. Kill a third-level monster, experience plus 15, drop 1 unit of third-level raw stone. Shao Tian's eyes lit up, and then the hunter used his forelimbs to scrape open the body of the Wolf King, revealing the extremely pure third-order raw stone below. Resource. Third-level raw stone, description. Can provide 1,500 experience points for lords or units. He reached out to take the raw stone from the collector's mouth, pondered for a moment, and then looked at the eager gaze of the upper demon leader. Keep it. After speaking, Xiao Tian threw the raw stone in his hand towards the demon leader. The demon leader quickly caught him, while the excitement made his speech stutter. Lord! Lord, this! Put it away, and the bodies of these wild beasts should be enough for you to eat for a while. Thank you, Lord. The demon present spoke gratefully. Xiao Tian nodded and then said, send a few people over and bring back the resources I need. Although Xiao Tian was talking about people, perhaps due to a special translation issue, the demon still understood clearly that Xiao Tian was talking about them. Quickly, everyone left the cave under the farewell of the demon leader, and along the way, they also brought back the bodies of the beasts they had killed. On the way, Xiao Tian glanced at the demon next to him who was carrying a box. This was the one who had voluntarily surrendered to Xiao Tian's virtue and prestige at that time. What's going on with the bull demon clan you mentioned before? Lord Hui, they are a group of stronger creatures that often come to our town's exit to collect protection fees. If they encounter them while hunting outside, they will also steal our prey, but they haven't appeared in the past 2 days. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tian gave a faint smile. I guessed that this demon was trying to scare himself with other races, but in the past 2 days Xiao Tian thought that this was already the 3rd day he had traveled to this world. Every night, there would be a wave of small beasts appearing, and the demon leader was also injured by foreign beasts in these 2 days. Therefore, the bull demon clan may also have been attacked by foreign beasts. If there is a chance, I would like to go to their place to take a look, or as I did today, I can directly defeat the cows with virtue. How strong are they? I'm not very sure, but according to the leader, they seem to be strong with a 5th level. Hee. Xiao Tian awkwardly smiled and said, let's postpone the matter of convincing the ox with virtue. I don't think he has enough virtue yet. Obtained resources. 9,340 units of wood, 2,130 units of stone, 200 units of iron ore, 346 units of first-order meat, 587 units of first-order animal bones, 28 units of first-order animal skins, 137 units of first-order animal teeth, 63 units of first-order raw stones, and 11 units of second-order raw stones. Looking at the resources in the warehouse, Xiao Tian felt a bit melancholic. The resources for upgrading the Lord's mansion or the insect nest were both slightly lacking. However, there is still food for today that has not been sold, as well as a small animal tied tonight. As long as you are prepared, you should be able to gather all the resources. Click to the production interface. Tool. First order bone fence, materials. 75 units of first-order beast bones and 20 units of first-order beast teeth, 10 were directly manufactured, and then Xiao Tian glanced at the description of the items. Tool. First-order bone fence, description. Place a 1 meter x 5 meter bone fence that can block the movement of other creatures. Now the size of the entire territory is only 10 meters by 10 meters, and 10 bone fences are completely sufficient. After putting the 8 bone fences in place, Xiao Tian looked at the sharp bone spikes on the fence and eagerly thought about what would happen if the monster collided with them. Shaking his head without further thought, Xiao Tian glanced at the time and realized that it was not long before night. Therefore, he extracted 30 units of meat and 10 water storage bags. Then he ate it separately from the swarm of insects and the 5 demons, but of course, the meat he and the demons ate still needed to be grilled. When eating, Xiao Tian also opened the chat channel and looked at the messages on the chat channel. He also found that people nowadays can barely afford to eat, but of course, those who are still seeking food are still the same group. Subsequently, Xiao Tian hung 500 units of meat on the trading market, leaving only over 100 units on his side. As for the price, it has also dropped, only half of the original price, which is almost the normal price in the market. However, this speed is still much slower than before, and a few minutes have passed before it has been sold out. I'll go. Put 500 units on the shelves at once, but I didn't expect Big Brother Xiao Tian to make a big splash again, and Big Brother Li Feng only has over 300 units. Good guy, the price of this unscrupulous businessman Xiao Tian has come down, but the meat he hunted himself still tastes more delicious. Stop talking about upstairs, I still can't beat the monsters outside every day until now, sad. Watching the people on the chat channel complaining to each other, Xiao Tian felt a bit interesting. Anyway, he should be living in the first tier now. But suddenly, Xiao Tian thought of something. Even in the current situation, Xiao Tian cannot be certain that he will successfully survive in the beast tide on the 7th day. After all, the previous warning was that the beast tide will sweep through the entire dark forest. Even oneself is so difficult, what about others? There are still many people who are developing and don't know how weak they are. How can they survive? Or rather, they don't need to survive at all. Is their role just to provide resources for lords with advanced branches of the army? Inexplicably, Xiao Tian thought of the territory transfer card he had obtained today. Prop. Territory transfer card, description. Enter detailed information of the transferred person. After the other party agrees, you can transfer the other party and their territory to the vicinity of your own territory. Seeing this, Xiao Tian also became much clearer. Zhaoshuyuan.com on the 7th day of the beast tide, it was estimated that he would have to unite with various forces to fight against it, and the only lord that Xiao Tian could think of was Li Feng. Li Feng's saber-toothed tiger troops are probably second only to his own Zerg tribe in the dark forest. If he could be brought over, the safety factor would also be much higher. But the other party doesn't seem to have any intention of uniting, and they don't even send a friend application. Thinking of this, Xiao Tian shook his head and didn't think much anymore. If you apply for a friend first, it may be a bit of a disadvantage. It's best to consider transferring when the beast tide is approaching. My gaze shifted back to the trading market, where all the meat sold had already been purchased, and I only had to choose to accept it. At this moment, Xiao Tian noticed that someone had purchased 80 units of meat with iron ore, and because the price had dropped, it was said that the other party had consumed 800 units of iron ore. It seems highly likely that only those who have a stable source of iron ore can consume it in this way. Then Xiao Tian glanced at the buyer's name, Ling Hua. Seeing this name, Xiao Tian remembered that yesterday someone with the same name seemed to have purchased meat from iron ore. After a moment of contemplation, Xiao Tian clicked on the person's personal information and then went to the friend application interface, but stopped before sending it. Because Xiao Tian noticed that this person named Ling Hua had sent him a friend application, and then Xiao Tian agreed. Hello. After sending a greeting, after almost 10 seconds, the other party did not reply, so Xiao Tian returned to the trading interface and agreed to all transactions. Obtained resources. 12,450 units of wood, 4,275 units of stone, 800 units of iron ore. Chapter 10. Second Order Insect Nests. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Second Order Insect Nests. After harvesting this wave of resources, the resources needed to upgrade the Lord's mansion were sufficient, but Xiao Tian suddenly thought that upgrading the Lord's mansion might increase the range of his territory. Although the current territory is invincible, if the range is increased, then the 8 bone fences will definitely not be enough. Just as I was thinking about it, the sound of night falling suddenly rang in my ear. Closing the interface, Xiao Tian's gaze crossed over the frightened demon and looked into the distance. Through the flying dust, he saw different types of exotic beasts rushing towards his territory from all directions. Lord! This! Looking at these panicked and speechless demons, Xiao Tian just waved his hand and said, "Be quiet, they can't come in." Upon hearing these words, these demons could only tightly shut their mouths. As the tide of small beasts approaches, their distance from the bone fence gradually shortens. In the next moment, the sound produced when penetrating their bodies is accompanied by the wailing of foreign beasts. The monster at the forefront, pushed and pushed by the monster at the back, impaled on the bone spurs of the fence without any resistance, and these pain-feeling beasts were also struggling frantically. But the result was that there were more and more wounds on the body, and as blood gushed out of the wounds, a strong fishy smell also permeated the surroundings, stimulating the monsters behind to work harder and push forward. When the killing message in his ear stopped ringing, Xiao Tian's gaze crossed over the piled-up corpses of exotic beasts and looked towards the outskirts of his territory. At this moment, only 8 second-order exotic beasts are still alive, and they also have varying degrees of damage on their bodies. Commanding the slightly tired hunters out of their territory, they quickly dealt with all 8 second-order exotic beasts without any damage. If we were to calculate the loss, it would be the loss of 8 bone fences. I knew I had to do this from the beginning. Xiao Tian wanted to slap himself, but 2 days ago he missed 2 waves of small beast tide and suffered a great loss. Resources obtained: 931 units of first-level meat, 1,287 units of first-level animal bones, 42 units of first-level animal skin, 213 units of first-level animal teeth, 19 units of first-level raw stones, 620 units of second-level meat, 1,848 units of second-level animal bones, 8 units of second-level animal skin, 256 units of second-level animal teeth, and 3 units of second-level raw stones. Looking at the resources harvested on the interface, Xiao Tian felt a surge of excitement. If it weren't for the fact that those second-level monster bears had already been recycled, he would definitely have pounced on them and bit them hard. However, Xiao Tian also noticed the description of second-order exotic animal meat, which can enhance the physical fitness of the diner. Unfortunately, the meat consumed must be higher than the diner's level. Another thing is that the explosion rate at night is really high, almost every 2 exotic beasts will drop a raw stone, but I just missed this one raw stone. Watching the upgrade interface only missing the last raw stone, Xiao Tian felt absurd and uncomfortable. Shaking his head and ignoring the stunned demon beside him, Xiao Tian returned to the Lord's mansion and then directly clicked to upgrade it. Your territory has been upgraded to level 3 ordinary architecture. City Lord's Mansion, initial level. 3rd order, upgrade required. 100,000 units of wood, 50,000 units of stone, 10,000 units of iron ore, 5,000 units of refined iron. Current status: invincible. Your territory has expanded to 25 by 25. Xiao Tian walked out of the Lord's mansion, and the original small house had become very large, while the wooden fence at the edge of the territory had also been turned into a stone wall, with a much higher safety factor. You guys find a place to rest first, there aren't many houses right now. Xiao Tian glanced at the demon next to the fire, and after speaking, he made some warm clothes from ordinary animal skins. After handing them over to the demon, he returned to the room. Perhaps it was because of tonight's experience that he was too excited. Xiao Tian tossed and turned, still unable to sleep, and then opened the chat interface. As soon as he opened it, Xiao Tian noticed that someone from his friend's side had sent a message, and he only added one friend, which means it was from Ling Hua. Hello, Xiao Tian. I didn't expect Mr. Xiao Tian to agree to my friend application, I'm so excited. Is Mr. Xiao Tian there? Is the big shot chatting with others? Are all the big shots so busy? Big shot. Looking at the large amount of information sent by the other party, Xiao Tian felt a bit embarrassed as he shouted one big shot at a time. Is this the feeling of being a top player in the game? Xiao Tian also became interested and then replied with a paragraph. I'll give you a big gift package as a newcomer with a raw stone. After sending this message, Xiao Tian was also preparing to browse the chat channel, but he never expected that Ling Hua would send a transaction in the next second. Product: 1 unit of first-order raw stone, price: none, inventory. 1 unit. Xiao Tian raised his eyebrows, feeling somewhat surprised, and his liking for the other person also increased in his heart. Because this is a friend interface, the trading market is not affected, so Xiao Tian didn't rush to agree, but thought for a moment. Then he traded a set of animal skin clothing, 2 extra bone fences, and 50 units of second-order meat before agreeing to Ling Hua's deal. Thank you, Mr. Xiao Tian. Seeing this, Xiao Tian felt very happy and then replied lightly. Something's up, just a moment. After finishing his post, Xiao Tian walked out of the city lord's mansion with arrogant steps and finally arrived at the insect nest. Your special building. Worm nest has been upgraded to level 2, special building. Insect nest, initial level. Second order, can breed 200 larvae per day, upgrade required. 100 units of second-level raw stones and 1 unit of second-level abnormal stones, note. The higher the level of the insect nest, the higher the probability of breeding special larvae. Watching the insect nest almost double in size, Xiao Tian burst out laughing and looked for the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Then he noticed the suddenly awakened demonic creatures, and he cleared his throat before returning to the Lord's mansion. Clicking on a friend chat and watching them send more than 10 messages in just a few minutes, Xiao Tian didn't particularly dislike it. The other party probably hasn't quite adapted to traveling yet, with too many things piled up in their hearts and no one to confide in. Just as he was about to become a psychological mentor for the other party, Xiao Tian suddenly remembered the reason why he agreed to the friend's application and sent a message saying, "Do you have a stable source of minerals?" "Yes, big shot." Seeing this, Xiao Tian gang was about to delve deeper into it when the other party sent a long message. Xiao Tian, my unit is a goblin tribe with special abilities to detect minerals underground. There is also a large mountain next to my territory, where there is a large vein of minerals that I can provide. Seeing the sincerity of the other party, Xiao Tian touched his chin and then walked out of the room. He saw that the demons were not sleeping yet, so he asked. Can you perceive the underground veins? Ah. Lord, this ability is possible for the Goblin clan, but not for our demonic clan. After the demonic finished speaking, he quickly added, but we have rich forging experience and can help you craft equipment or refine minerals, and you can also fight. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tian let out a breath but didn't say anything, just nodded and returned to the room. However, the status of the demon clan in Xiao Tian's heart has declined slightly. As compared to the lords, the upper limit of these local races is not as high. But for Xiao Tian, he will not give up on the demon clan now, at least wait until the beast tide on the 7th day is over before seeing the situation.